Congressman Drew Ferguson joins us now for the first time at our desk, a freshman member representing the 3rd District of Georgia. Joining us as Congress is working on passing this $1.1 trillion budget deal this week. It would avert the government shutdown at the end of the week, fund the government for 5 months. Is this a good deal in your mind?
Well, it's a deal. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a good deal, but it's a deal. Unfortunately, we're being asked to finish up a process that should have been completed last year. We have a new president with a new direction, and now we're trying to blend an older policy and an older budget with a new direction, and it is and it's a complicated process, no doubt. So, these omnibus bills, we all knew that this was a possibility. Nobody wants to shut down the federal government, but at the same time, I think it is. I think it's testament to the fact that we've got to get back to regular order and do our budgeting process and our appropriations process better.
Republicans control the House, they control the Senate, they control the White House. We're seeing headlines in today's paper about this spending bill. Front page of the Washington Post, Democrats claim win on spending. The front page of the Washington Times, Democrats win on spending bill as GOP blinks. Why weren't things like the funding for the wall along the U.S.-Mexico border, defunding sanctuary cities, defunding Planned Parenthood, why weren't those things included in this?
Well, let's be clear about one thing. I've just got the bill on my desk yesterday, so we're still going through this process, and we're still trying to decide where a lot of the good things are that are in this bill and where some of the things are that we're not sure that we can support. And we have to put all of that together and really look at it and say, does this benefit the 3rd District of Georgia? To your specific question, as far as funding the border wall, we do see a $1.5 billion appropriation for border defense. It's not the wall, but there are parts of this of defending the border that don't require a wall, and actually other technologies work. So it's a pretty good down payment on the president's wish to keep America safe. So I do think that when I see a headline that says Democrats win, that's an interesting perspective from their part. There's an awful lot. There are an awful lot of good things in this bill. There's some things that I wouldn't, if I'd had a chance to write it, I would have written it differently. But I would just say I think once we get through it, we've got to find out if this thing leans more conservative or more liberal. Not surprised to see headlines like that in D.C.
Should let our viewers know phone lines are open if you want to talk to Congressman Drew Ferguson, Republican of Georgia, 202-748-8000 if you're a Democrat, 202-748-8001 if you're a Republican, 202-748-8002 if you're an independent. One more question on this budget deal. Is this something that the and appropriators who negotiated this could see a revolt from rank-and-file members when it finally comes to the floor this week? Do you think there's any chance that it doesn't pass and that we're staring down another shutdown?
I certainly hope not. I know, while nobody is, I haven't talked to a single member that just absolutely loves the bill that we've got right here. We understand that it's a compromise, but I'll say this: I don't think anybody wants to shut down the government. We've got some great things on the horizon. We need to keep focused on the fact that we still have got to honor our pledge to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. That is something that we have to do. It is having a profound effect on the 3rd District of Georgia every single day, rising premiums and really, insurance that people can't afford to use. We've got to address that. That's important to do because we also have to address tax reform. Of all the things that I haven't had a single person tell me, I love our tax code and you've got to fight to keep it. We've got to change that tax code, and that's part of making this the most competitive place on the planet to do business. And if we can do those things, we're well on our way to reviving the economy and getting out of this anemic 1.5% GDP growth.
Should note for our viewers that Congressman Drew Ferguson is also Dr. Drew Ferguson, established a family dental practice in his district before he served as mayor of West Point, Georgia, now a congressman elected this past fall. So you mentioned health care. What is your expectation for what happens this week? Are you on board with this deal that Republican leaders are trying to get votes for possibly as soon as Thursday?
Yes, I am. I've been a supporter of repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act since I got here. It's a pledge that we ran on. It's something that that we want to follow through on. It's something that I feel like I made a commitment to do, and we're going to keep fighting until we get to that point.
And specifically, is the American Health Care Act the right replacement bill?
It is.
It's modified today.
It's the best chance we get to head in a new direction. I will tell you this: if anybody thinks that you can vote one time on a healthcare bill and fix our healthcare system, that's being naive and disingenuous. This is a step in a different direction to move us back to where the patient and the doctor really get to have the real intimate conversations that they deserve, and really taking a look at the insurance market, being able to create market reforms that allow competition within that marketplace, and we've got some unique things in this bill that help drive down costs.
Is one of those cost drivers, one of those market reforms, that people with pre-existing conditions should possibly be charged more for their coverage?
No, I'll tell you, if you look at the plan that's out there, and this was said in conference, it's been said in every meeting that I've been into. We're gonna make sure that people with pre-existing conditions have access to coverage that is affordable and fair, just like everybody else receives. Look, we as a nation have crossed the threshold and said that it's unacceptable to not cover pre-existing conditions. That's something, and so I think, you know, how we get to that point. I think
does affordable and fair mean equal in terms of what they're charged?
Yes, I think it should. And look, it costs more to cover somebody with a pre-existing condition. Quite candidly, it does. I think we as Americans have said, hey, look, we're willing to do our part to help offset that cost. And that's what the American Health Care Act does, is that it quite candidly pulls all of us together to say that those that are the most vulnerable, we're going to have to do a little bit to help these folks, because otherwise it's unaffordable. And really, we have a hard time looking at one another knowing that we can't provide care or unwilling to provide compassionate care and access to care to our fellow Americans. So I feel confident that we'll get that in the bill.
So for those viewers who are confused about what risk pools are and how that works, can you explain that?
Sure. The way the amendment is written into the American Health Care Act right now is we would go ahead and pre-fund. When I say we, the federal government would go ahead and pre-fund the high-risk pools in the states. That would allow them to go ahead and set the pools up. And one of the things that's been talked about are what's called an invisible risk pool. Basically, if you had, pick a condition, diabetes, heart disease, whatever that may be, and you go into the marketplace and you buy that insurance, you would buy it at the same rate as, say, I would, without those conditions. It would allow this program, the pre-funding of the high-risk pools, would allow states to create a backstop for insurance companies, and we would take the risk, the high dollar risk that your condition causes, and put that into that high-risk pool. But your access to affordable health care and premiums similar to mine would be the same.
Let's get you to some of the callers waiting on the lines. Ralph is up first on our line for Independence Valley, Alabama. Ralph, good morning. You're on with Congressman Drew Ferguson.
Yes, sir. I know the congressman hadn't been there long, and he seems like a very good man. But what's really got me upset is the Republicans. They wanted the House, they wanted the Senate, they wanted everything. They got everything they need, but yet it's a big giveaway. And I really honestly think when Trump ran, he ran because he was just going in to do a good job in Washington. And I think Paul Ryan is very much against Donald Trump. He's running his own agenda, and he's running with the Democrats basically because they get everything they want every time. And I'm not blaming no one particular Republican, but it seems like our Republicans are impotent compared to the Democrats. They do get what with less people, with less power, and it makes our people on the Republican side. And I'm going to tell you something. These guys that keep Trump from getting the wall and getting all these things, if they don't get something done this time, I'll never vote Republican again, but I can't vote Democrat. So, you know, I don't know where my voting ability will ever be again. But
well, Ralph, thanks for the call. I want to give the congressman a chance to respond.
Well, Ralph, thanks for calling in. And listen, you're right. I'm new here. I've got a little bit of the same frustration in that you know, we have a president in the White House right now that certainly reflected many of the frustrations and troubles that America was feeling, job loss, feeling lost. I mean, those are the things that the president really spoke to us about. And when we're in Congress right now, I